What's up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks so much for being here, for being subscribed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this conversation. So by now, you've heard the story about the woman that caught her husband at the airport and found out that he's been cheating on her for some time. And a lot of people have questions. I wanted to talk about this because I heard some of her videos and I heard her just really like giving a timeline of some things. And I don't know. I'm not saying that this is not real. And I'm definitely not here to play a game or to make fun of somebody who has been married for all of these years and is learning that their husband has been unfaithful, because it's not right. I don't understand people that do stuff like this, but unfortunately it's going on a lot. It is. But with that being said, this woman, I think her name is Sabrina Hutton, she caught her husband at the airport and she said some things, and a lot of people have questions about it. I want to play some of the clips because I want to get into this, but now some people are wondering if this woman may now be coming onto the Real Housewives of Atlanta, because apparently she is Kandi Burruss's friend. I'm like, what do you know? Now, I've heard that Atlanta is a small town, and especially for those who have money, it's even smaller, right? So let's just go ahead and get into this. And forgive me, I don't even know why I said her name, Sabrina Hutton. Gail Lewis. It's early, guys.
Oh, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you have a good flight. I'll see you on the flight. Oh my God. Good morning, Harold. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you have a good flight. I'll see you on the flight. Let me just preface this by saying I'm a nice person. I'm a sweet person. I'll do anything for my family and my friends. And I'll help anybody out. Try to stay in my own lane. I try not to bother anyone or do any of that. But when people play in my face and plot and plan and do foul stuff, I'm not so nice anymore. And that's how most of us are. So let me start by saying on October 29th of 2022, my husband was scheduled to come home from a trip from Europe. He told me he'd been over there working, and he worked a lot for his corporate job. I thought he was working anyway. Told me he had a speaking engagement in Europe. So I wanted to make sure that I had dinner and everything ready for him by the time he got home. So I called the airline. So I knew the flight number. And I was driving, so I couldn't, type it in my computer, because usually if you just type a flight number in, it'll just pop up what time the flight's going to land. So I had to call the airline that day. And when I asked the flight attendant, or not the flight attendant, I'm sorry, but the representative, what time that flight came in, he asked for my husband's name. And I was like, you don't need his name. I was like, just give me the flight information. If I typed it in, I just need the flight information. You don't need his name. So he was adamant about me giving the name. So I gave him the name. He comes back a few minutes later and he says, Mr. Such and Such and Miss What's Her Name landed 20 minutes ago. So I'm in shock, because I've been married 25, 26 years, and I'm thinking I'm just married to this outstanding, upstanding citizen. So I said, no, just his name. I don't know who that other person is, but just his name. And the guy states again, he was like, Mr. Such and Such and Miss What's Her Name just landed a few minutes ago, like 20 minutes ago. So I'm sitting in the Kroger parking lot like, what does this mean? I'm in a state of shock, actually. So my head is spinning by this time. My blood pressure's gone up. And I'm like, what does this mean? So I'm like, okay. So right after that, my husband calls, and I was trying to hold it in and trying to hold what I was feeling in. So I was like, I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm going to wait till he gets to the house. Because he was like, oh, I missed you. It's been a long, long week. This is the hardest money I ever earned. But I wish you could have gone with me. And I was like, okay, well, you can tell me about your trip when you get home. So, okay, stand by, y'all, for the rest.
All right, so that was one part of it. And she talked about how this flight representative was adamant on getting the person's name just for the information that she asked for, which was what time did the flight get in or was supposed to get in. I don't know. It just seems like something's off a little bit with that, because that doesn't even sound like it makes sense. Because if you're just calling about the flight information, they don't usually ask you to give the name of the person that's on the flight. I don't really know why that would even matter. And then she says the person comes back a few minutes later to say, okay, well, Mr. So-and-so and Miss such and such landed about 20 minutes ago. So something there seems a bit off. I don't know what it is. You can let me know what you think about that, because I don't really know, but it is questionable. But the one thing that's not questionable is the fact that she confronted him in the airport. She walked up on him and he was sitting there with this other chick.
Home, I greet him at the door, give him a hug and a kiss and ask him about his trip while he's unpacking. And so I'm like, show me some pictures from your trip. And he was like, oh, I didn't take any pictures. I was running around working and we were just so busy and on the go. We were just, just going to and fro. So I was like, oh, okay. So when we go to have dinner, I was like, hey, I called the airlines to see what time your flight was getting in. And I said, they told me there was someone else on your itinerary. And I tell him the person's name. And he was like, who was that? And I was like, I don't know. You tell me. He was like, oh, I don't know who that is. And he was like, He said, they must have made a mistake. So I was like, well, okay. So I went along with it, but something about it, my spirit just was not feeling right. So I was like, something about this is just not right. So that night when we go to bed, he's sleeping over there just a snoring. I'm over there tossing and turning because I was like, something about this just does not feel right. So something tells me in the morning when you get up, go check your credit card bills that are on the counter. So the credit card bills are all stacked up out on our kitchen counter, and I don't open them because I don't pay the bill. I mean, it's American Express bill each month. It'd be high. So I was like, I ain't got none on it, so no need for me to open them. But that was my account, and I added him to it years ago, and I just let him open it,
All right, did you hear her say that was her account, and she put him on it years ago? So if he's just an authorized user, because it was her account, so obviously it was not a joint account, it was her account, and she added him later as an authorized user. But she says, I don't open the bills because, I don't have nothing on it. Why is he, as an authorized user, using her card all the time? And he has all of this money. I'm just asking. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that just sounded odd to me. But anyway, she said she opened the bill and was looking at the charges because something told her to open it and look at it.
Open the bill and pay it. And there was sometimes I would open it, but most times I would just look at my portion of it and just keep it moving. So that morning when I get up, I go to church and he tells me that he had to leave because he had to catch up on work and all that kind of stuff later on in the day. So I was like, okay. So I go to church and when I come back from church, I get ready to go to the Falcon game. But something was like, check one of those credit card bills before you go. When I opened up that bill, the woman that the airline employee mentioned that was on his itinerary, her name was up and down my credit card bill. Flights here, flights there, flights to Paris, Delta vacations, a country here, an island there, something. And this was in 1 month. So I'm sitting there like, what in the world? So by this time, y'all, I'm steaming and I got to go to this Falcon game with my girlfriends and try to act like I'm having a good time. But the whole time, my mind is racing. So I was like, okay, so I come home that night. I stack up all those bills. I got bills for like 8 months worth of bills. Actually, that was October. So 10 months. I pulled from December of 21 to October of 22. And when I tell you, it was very telling. This woman's name was on every one of my bills for each of those months several times. So while I thought he was out working and telling me that I couldn't travel with him because, he didn't want to get distracted. Oh, he had a travel mate, all right. He had one. Stand by for part 3.
Yeah, he didn't want to get distracted, all right, because he already had somebody accompanying his time, and that is crazy. But when it comes to the American Express thing, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I will tell you, because at first when I listened to what she said that her name was all up and down the credit card statement for trips. And both the person I was talking to and we both have American Express cards. I have a business Amex Platinum card, but I will admit, when I first heard it, I was like, that doesn't sound right. They don't put your name for flights on the credit card statement, right? But then I thought about it for a while, and I said, you know what? That might be true. I have not traveled on my own. I haven't booked any flights in years. I can't believe it's been this long, because I used to travel a lot for business, but since COVID happened, I haven't traveled like that. I haven't, and so I've only flown once since COVID happened, and that was actually last year when I went with my husband somewhere for him, and he and I went together. So I haven't booked any flights in a while myself. But when I was booking flights for travel, sometimes I would book through Amex Travel. And when you book through Amex Travel, you get extra points for your card when you book through Amex Travel versus just, going through going directly through an airline, or, for example, like going through Cheap Tickets or Priceline.com or Kayak, or, one of those sites where people do go and book flights. But I believe when you do book your flights through Amex Travel and you do it that way, I believe the names do show up on the statement. I cannot recall right now because it's been a while since I've done that. But like I said, when I thought about it, I said, you know what? If he used Amex Travel to book the flights, then the names may show up. Because when you book your flights through Amex Travel, you have to put the names of the travelers and all that stuff on there. So the names may show up on the statements. I don't want to say that it doesn't, and I don't want to say that it 100% does, but I think if you do it that way, then it does show up. If you guys know the answer to that, 100%, you can let me know in the comment section. I just can't recall, but I think that might be true. So I don't think she's lying about that. At first, when I heard it, I was like, that doesn't make sense. When do they put names for the people who are traveling, who've booked flights on a credit card statement? That doesn't make sense. But I believe when you book through Amex Travel, then it does show up on the statement. So with that being said, I'm not going to go into all of the other videos, but now it's coming out that she is friends with Kandi Burruss. And we know that recently Kandi Burruss, she was pretty much complaining that she hasn't gotten any word on what's going on, and people have things to do, and are they going to bring who back, because I got stuff to do and it's getting on my nerves and all that other stuff. And now, when we're hearing to talk about they may bring some people back and then bring in some new people, and a lot of people are calling for Kandi to not be one of the people that they bring back, now this story goes viral. Listen, I'm not saying that Kandi had anything to do with this woman's situation, and I'm not even saying that the situation is not real. But now, with this story getting millions of views and a lot of people are talking about it, and now it just so happens that she and Kandi are friends. Does this mean that this is a possible new addition to the Real Housewives of Atlanta?
Yeah, this whole Gail and Harold story, y'all, is kind of wild. Let me be clear, though. This picture that was taken with Gail and Harold, with Sabrina and Harold, this was last week, y'all. This was not in 2022. Let me tell you something what I learned. Gail is a former cop, y'all, City of Atlanta cop. And Gail is a Spelman grad, and she might be even be like a journalism major. So she knows how to write the story and create the story to make it seem as if it's in real time and tell it in her own perspective. And I'm not calling Gail a liar, but from the people I know, the people that call me that live in Sugarloaf Parkway and that are from Sugarloaf Parkway, they all know Gail and Harold. And they don't want to be messy, so they don't want to just jump on the story and go on TikTok. But y'all, they say Gail doing a bunch of lying. They say Gail knew this man was married when she took him from her, and she was sleeping with him the whole time. And also, I got direct word from a phone call that this post down here that says I'm his first wife, Gail Lewis, is a liar. That ain't Sabrina, y'all, playing on the internet. That is actually Harold's first wife. And after Harold left his first wife, Gail didn't want him to have interactions with his children and so on, from what I was told. And his children actually grew up poor in Memphis, Tennessee, with his ex-wife. She was going through postpartum. So it's a lot of karma coming back. But at the same time, since Gail has done this and put this story on the internet, she's kind of messing up her case. And she's messing up Harold's money also. Harold is a big-time executive, guys, at a major banking company. And this ain't good for him and his reputation, and it ain't good for Gail. So she's messing up the money to make an attempt to get on a reality show. Now, I'm not going to say she don't know Kandi and these other people, because Atlanta's small, y'all, and Sugarloaf Parkway, there's a lot of who's people used to live there, and a lot of people with money used to live there. So I'm sure she does know Kandi and a few people, but this is an attempt to get on a reality show, and it might work, and I think it's a good attempt. But when you're in Atlanta, y'all, the problem is people going to call you out, and they're going to make a lot of phone calls and get the story straight based on other people. So from the people that called me, unfortunately, they like, man, look, Gail's a liar. She did a good job of getting this story going viral. Maybe she will get on the show eventually, but she's messing up Harold's money and possibly messing up her money. And from the last word I got, her attorney has now dropped her because of what she did. And this just ain't good for the whole case in the situation. So I just want to point that out, and I'm going to leave it alone because it ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just telling you what I know for a fact, because the people that call me, they know what they talking about, and they know Gail and Harold. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a good day.
So you heard that, right? Now I'm going to play this little clip of Kandi and this Gail Lewis together, because we'll see what comes of this, but I don't think that this attempt is going to work out if this is the whole aim and goal to try to get her to be on The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Story time. So yesterday I was with my daughters Riley and Kayla, and they was like, did you see that story going viral on TikTok about the lady who caught her husband at the airport? I said, that sounds familiar, but I don't know. Now, why I didn't know my homegirl had got on live and told her story, and now it's viral. It's life, y'all. Hey, it's life. So, we gotta keep living. So it's life. I'm gonna have to get you on speak on it now.
All right, enough of that. Listen, I don't know what the end goal is with this, but like the guy was saying, allegedly, her attorney has already dropped her. This is looking really messy. I'm not here to say how people should handle things if real life situations are going on in their life and they just feel so emotional. I can just give my advice to say going live or sharing videos and giving breakdowns of everything that's going on in your personal life like that, because you're in your feelings, is just not a good thing. And listen, I know that there are a lot of people that are going through some heavy stuff in their lives and they just feel like they need somebody to talk to. Go to somebody that you're close to. Get a counselor. Like, all this stuff about going viral, is it really worth it in the end? Because you just wind up being another viral story that happened in some point in time. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have gone viral, but the majority of them, it did not garner them huge amounts of success. You know, there are a few exceptions, but it's not the rule. And we know Kandi is definitely somebody that's all about opportunity and getting a bag and the money and all of this other stuff. So you heard her say, I'm going to have to get you on speak on it. Now, is it possible that she also might be trying to get her on The Real Housewives of Atlanta? Because a lot of people are saying that they don't want to see her come back. I don't know. But you can let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section. Guys, thanks so much for being here, for liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until the next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.